Norman Powell is the latest member of the Miami Heat. He joins Eric Spoelstra's roster after a highly impressive season with the LA Clippers, where he shot the lights out from deep, converting on 41.8% of his 7.1 attempts per game. During his annual youth basketball clinic, Bam Adebayo spoke to the media in attendance. During his discussion, he shared his excitement to have Powell join the franchise. "It's a very good shakeup for our team, and now there's a different dynamic to it," Adebayo told Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald. "I feel like Norman is one of those guys who floats under the radar. But as you saw this year, he's really shown that he can be an all-star caliber player. You've seen what he's done, and you've seen him grow in this league. And obviously, he wants to take the next challenge. Obviously, the next challenge is being with the Miami Heat. So, I'm happy to have him." Powell will provide the Heat with some much-needed floor spacing this season. He will help plug the void left behind by Duncan Robinson. Furthermore, his presence will add some multi-level scoring and reliable defense. Adebayo now has another veteran he can lean on when running handoff actions around the perimeter. Heat's Adebayo praises Davon Mitchell. During the same media availability, Adebayo also shared his thoughts on Miami re-signing Davon Mitchell. The defensive-minded guard inked a 2-year, $24 million contract after impressing with the franchise after being traded from the Toronto Raptors on February 6. Davon being back, obviously, we've been missing somebody that can really play on-ball defense, Adebayo said. And having him come in and be that guy and understand his role, I'm looking forward to him being here for a full year and all of us being together and getting to know one another and turning this into more of a brotherhood. We were kind of disconnected a little bit trying to figure out everybody's role and trying to figure out everybody's style of play. But now we're going to have a good training camp, and then we go from there." Mitchell is one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA. He navigates screens at speed, gets into the ball, and makes life tough for opposing guards and wings. Spoelstra will certainly find inventive ways of getting the best out of off night, and his presence on the roster will ensure Miami's defense is no joke. Heat could land veteran free agent. In a July 29 article for Clutch Points, Brett Siegel pinpointed Precious Achiuwa as a potential free agency addition for the Heat. Miami is currently short on front-court depth, especially if it plans on running Kel'el Ware and Adebayo together in the starting lineup. One team that could still use some front-court help this offseason is the Miami Heat, Siegel wrote. Not only does this fit make sense because Achiuwa can play behind Bam Adebayo and improve his all-around game, but the former Knicks big man recently purchased a 2-bedroom condo in South Beach. Miami has an open roster spot, and they can sign Achiuwa without crossing their first apron hard cap. Prediction: Precious Achiuwa stays in Eastern Conference, joins Heat frontcourt behind Bam Adebayo. Achiuwa would fit Miami's defense-first mentality. He's positionally versatile and brings the type of grit that Spoelstra looks for in his players. If Pat Riley sees him as a potential addition, he could make a legitimate impact on the Heat's second unit while also being a cost-controlled asset. The Miami Heat will enter the 2025-26 NBA season in a strange spot. They might have enough win-now talent to make noise in the wide-open Eastern Conference, but they also have a young core they need to nurture. And remember, they're doing all of this while carefully managing their finances to potentially allow for fortune-changing additions down the road. It all makes for a rather tricky developmental environment, as this club could never get on the same page last season. And yet, it's an environment in which Nikola Jovic must thrive, because it's now or never to convince the front office he's worth keeping around. While he's eligible for an extension this offseason, he might want to wager on himself, since he has yet to engineer a breakout campaign. If he did go that route, where should he set the bar for a successful season? That's a great question. Jovic must establish himself as a regular and reliable part of the rotation. It's tempting to set the pass-fail bar at Jovic snagging a starting lineup, but that possibility likely evaporated once Miami leaned into the Bam Adebayo Kel'el Ware frontcourt last season. If the Heat stick Andrew Wiggins at the 3 and opts for a Tyler Herro-Norman Powell starting backcourt, this opening group might already be set. And that's fine for Jovic. His unique offensive abilities might shine better off the bench, anyway, since Miami could handle him more like a featured player when he's surrounded by reserves. Those offensive abilities have already perked up plenty over the past couple of seasons. Since the start of the 2023-24 campaign, he has converted 45.4% of his field goals and 38.3% of his long-range looks. His per 36-minute stats also show solid support scoring, 14.8 points, and a big enough gap between his assists, 3.9, and turnovers, 1.8, to picture him slotting in as a secondary playmaker, per Basketball Reference. His shooting and shot-making set a baseline for him serving as a 6 feet 10 inches stretch big, but his flashes of creation and playmaking are what could really skyrocket his ceiling. Finesse scorers who can't defend offer limited value in today's NBA. Add legitimate ball skills and passing vision to the equation, though, and suddenly you have a pretty coveted archetype. That should be the standard for Jovic this season, consistently displaying a well-rounded offensive arsenal while serving as a 6th or 7th man in the rotation. While it would be great to see some defensive growth, the more realistic hope should be that he's so valuable on offense that it almost doesn't matter what he does on the opposite end. Jovic's place in the franchise's long-term future feels a bit murky right now. A successful season should make keeping him around for the long haul a no-brainer. If there is one thing to take away from the Miami Heat's offseason, it's that they remain infatuated by the prospect of trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And perhaps they should be. There is an element of, well, obviously, at play here. Giannis is a 2-time MVP, and the Heat are nothing if not obsessed with acquiring their next great superstar. But their interest in the Greek freak goes beyond pure wishful thinking and could be rooted in some legitimacy. Giannis is keeping the Heat and everyone else on the hook. Case in point, despite the Milwaukee Bucks waiving and stretching Damian Lillard to help make room for Miles Turner this offseason, Giannis' return isn't yet assured. Or so says ESPN's Shams Charania. Sources tell me there is nothing set in stone about whether Giannis Antetokounmpo wants to stay in Milwaukee or whether he wants to leave elsewhere. Charania explained Monday during an appearance on First Take. He's been evaluating his future this entire offseason. I reported way back in mid-May that he is open-minded about whether his best fit is in Milwaukee or is it a trade elsewhere. That process has been continuing. There's been some real conversations he's having with his inner circle, from my understanding. Somewhat buried in what feels like a non-update is Charania also mentioning that there are multiple teams that I know of that are literally waiting right now on what decision Giannis Antetokounmpo makes. Never mind the logistics of how the Heat could land Antetokounmpo if he requests a trade. They are clearly one of the squads that has structured their offseason with the future of the superstar in mind. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what the Heat are up to. Miami pretty much announced its enduring interest in Antetokounmpo by refusing to put its best foot forward in Kevin Durant trade talks. From its unwillingness to include Kellel, wherein packages to hemming and hawing over draft compensation, the team never truly seemed in on landing KD. That makes sense if they want Giannis. Not only is Durant entering his age 37 season, but pushing a deal over the finish line would have drained the Heat of assets they'd need to include in any package for Antetokounmpo. This line of thinking has continued throughout the summer. Miami did not add any long-term money to its books. Rather than get into Duncan Robinson for multiple years, it flipped him to the Detroit Pistons for the expiring contract of Simone Fontecchio. Norman Powell will prove to be one of the league's most valuable off-season additions, but he is also on an expiring contract and did not cost the team any draft equity to land. Andrew Wiggins has not gotten an extension that would put him on the books past 2025-26. He has a 2026-27 player option. Nikola Jovic extension rumblings are non-existent. There's been very little chatter about Tyler Herro getting an extension once he's eligible for one in October that would add years to his current agreement. Davon Mitchell received multiple years in his new deal, but he's earning comfortably less than the mid-level exception and will come off the books after 2026-27. At every turn, the Heat have prioritized flexibility and the retention of their best trade assets. They needn't say the quiet part out loud for us to understand why. Their actions have made it clear that trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo is Plan A and that they won't do anything to undermine it until, or unless, he's officially off the table.